For more reaction, we are now joined by One SA movement leader Mmusi Maimane. He's joining us on the line to continue our reflections on the passing of the Archbishop. Mmusi, thank you so much for joining us and thank you for your time. Your thoughts on this astounding, shocking, devastating moment in our history as a country.
Morning to all fellow South Africans. And, you know, when you hear the news of a giant such as Archbishop Desmond Tutu's passing, you can't help but feel a deep sadness, not only for our nation, but for his family, but also a deep sense of gratitude that here is an individual who was able to shape the theology of so many, the values of our country, and the best way I could ever describe was to think this was the midwife to our democratic project. This individual who, when everyone was calling for war, stood for peace. When revenge was on the table, spoke about forgiveness. When moments were harsh, both against the apartheid government and the democratic government, as it were, Archbishop Tutu found the moral fortitude to speak truth. And so we've lost one who held as the beacon of our values. And on a day such as this one, you can't help but at least say to yourself, he joins a great celestial giants, those who have timelessly, and I will put him undeniably with people like Gandhi, Mandela, Tutu, that these are people whose values ought to be things that we fight for and we commit our lives to fighting for. So I personally am sad, and I send my deep condolences to Mama Leah, and every time I met Archbishop Tutu, walked away with a deep sense of encouragement and a deep sense of having been in the presence of greatness.
I mean, Mmusi, you lead a movement presently in this country that is forged, or at least its foundations are on the ideals of a non-racial, non-sexist South Africa. You certainly, as a movement, are embodying a lot of the ideals that Desmond Tutu himself espoused. I wonder if, you continue to draw inspiration from the man that the Archbishop was, in forming your movement, in the direction that you would like this country to take.
We would never have, both as a principle of One South Africa, but there's an organization, we would never have even conceived of it, or let alone thought of it, had it not been for Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He gave us license and language to say it is possible to build One South Africa. He made it possible by saying, fight for reconciliation. And it would be unthinkable today, certainly for someone who paid such a heavy price for it. As I said earlier, when others just wanted revenge, he gave us the opportunity to say, fight for Ubuntu, because in Ubuntu, the principle stands that I see the divine or the humanity in others before any other thing. So we wouldn't have One South Africa movement today had it not been for the life of Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And that's why today, for us, even as a movement, as One South Africa, feel that we're not left with any other choice. But we have to take those values of Ubuntu. We have to take them and fight for them, because it would be an absolute betrayal if in the passing of Archbishop, the values also passed. That we have to take them on and say, we have to fight with our lives, we have to give everything. Because I still today, from the literature that Archbishop Tutu has put on the table, from the stances he took when on issues of faith that seemed very controversial, even on issues of euthanasia, the visit of Dalai Lama, Archbishop Desmond Tutu stood against the grain. He spoke truth in the face of power, and yet he had the softness of heart to invite you into that truth. So we cannot stop. We cannot, the words that come to my mind are aluta continua. Let the struggle continue, because Archbishop Tutu, certainly for me, remains one of those that I had the privilege to be in his presence, had the privilege to live at a time when he was around, and certainly will always be deeply indebted to the life lived by such a great South African and a gift to the world. We honestly do not have a choice. We have to continue those values.
Certainly, a presence that I think we all will continue to feel. That was One South African movement leader Mmusi Maimane joining us on the line there, helping us to reflect on the passing of Archbishop Desmond Tutu.